Hey everyone, I'm Nick Baines, president of Hangar 13. We hope you enjoyed this new look at gameplay in Mafia the Old Country. We're just 3 short months away now from getting this game in your hands, and we can't wait. Mafia the Old Country is an origin story for the Mafia universe, and as such, is both a step forward and a return to the fundamentals of the franchise. The heart of Mafia has always been deep, immersive storytelling, and Mafia the Old Country is no exception. It's a premium experience in the vein of early Mafia games, with a linear narrative set against the stunning, authentic backdrop of 1900 Sicily. That focus has allowed us to deliver a classic organised crime drama in the period authentic Mafia rules and traditions of the era. And, as you just saw, we've made some exciting gameplay updates. Whether you're using a knife or a gun, using stealth or in a shootout, this is brutal and grounded in all the best ways. It's all going to pull you in from every angle, pushing the franchise forward in a location and time painstakingly created with the utmost authenticity and detail using Unreal Engine 5. Stick around, because next up is our development team, who have loads of awesome behind-the-scenes insights on how we brought this title to life. And stay tuned between now and August, as we'll have even more to tell and show. Thanks for joining us on this journey.
Come in.
Our top goal for every Mafia game is to deliver the promise to a player that you're going to play a classic mob movie. Mafia the Old Country is a linear crime drama set against a beautiful Sicilian backdrop. The first step for us was to make sure that we were nailing all of the things that players expect from a Mafia game. The quality of its storytelling, how immersive it is, how authentic it is. Previous Mafia games have been set in big American cities. We've taken the action and we've put our story in rural Sicily, in the place where the Mafia began.
You really feel like you're transported into another time. It feels really unique and different, but yet really familiar. Players are really going to enjoy that aspect of it.
Our entry point for making these crime dramas is always the protagonist. We wanted to make sure that our main character, Enzo Favara, lives up to the standard which we've set in the past, and I hope in some ways even exceeds that.
All of the men in this room are bound by blood.
Enzo grows up in a sulfur mine. He's one of a bunch of children that are sold to the mine owners at this point in history in Sicily. Their life expectancy is short and they're essentially seen as disposable.
Enzo turns to crime as a means to make something of himself. The odds are stacked against him. So what does he do? He sees an opportunity for himself to gain some status, to gain some respect.
Do you wish to commit to this family? I do.
Swearing the oath is the chance for him to finally be accepted. He's found a family. It's the thing he's been searching for his entire life, but it comes at a cost.
I think players are in for an emotional roller coaster. The high stakes of the Mafia life present opportunities for us as storytellers to take players and put players through the ringer, really, in terms of what happens to the character, what happens to them in the game.
You again.
What makes a really compelling gameplay experience is the mix of the high-intensity combat, cover play, cover shooting, set by these beautiful cinematics that make what you do in the combat so much more meaningful because you're fighting for something you really believe in.
Authenticity and immersion are key. And so we wanted to take that philosophy from the storytelling and make sure that it was consistent in the gameplay.
You know, whether you come for that core cover combat shooting experience or that white knuckle driving experience, we have that in Mafia the Old Country, but it's unique.
There's some downbeats, there's some deep storytelling moments, and then there's some like high intensity action. And I think that's what makes Mafia missions and the general experience so interesting, is that we're constantly trying to change that roller coaster experience that you're on.
Enzo's proving himself with guns, and we wanted the combat to feel like there was a scarcity of resources, so you have to be more tactical in the way that you approach combat. The knife has been an integral part of gameplay. It's a part of Sicilian culture.
We wanted our gameplay to be immersive, to have a life or death kind of vibe. So when players are in a knife duel, when they're in a gunfight, they're genuinely fearing for their lives.
My flesh must burn like this saint if I do not keep my oath.
Bringing 1900 Sicily to life for us, it infuses every aspect of the development. It's about the characters, it's about the music, it's about the story, it's about the setting, it's about the vistas, it's about the vehicles, it's everything. It always starts with research, it always starts with immersing ourselves in the subject matter. So whether that's reading every crime book around the Sicilian Mafia, watching all of the movies, even driving the cars, firing the weapons, and then translating that into the game, that's the development experience.
We even sent some folks out to Sicily. We were then able to take all of those experiences and try to translate it into an on-screen experience, but also a story. And those two things are woven together in a way that I think players are going to really enjoy.
Bravery is not common in this world, and so
The Mafia that we see in Mafia the Old Country is much different than the Mafia that we see in some of the other Mafia games. It's a time-honored tradition steeped in secrecy, and there's this sort of deep honor that we see within the Teresi family and within the characters there.
The characters' relationships with each other, the way they behave, is very much influenced by that setting and that cultural difference.
This is a distinctive experience that I've never played before, and I'm sure that players are going to feel the same.
Mafia the Old Country is our first Unreal 5 game in the studio, and it's particularly suited to the Sicilian setting.
We've really been able to push the boat out in terms of sort of the real tiny details on everything.
You know, one of the big ones for me is metahuman. You have characters that have really lifelike expressions, micro details. You know, many times when I'm watching the game, especially on a big screen in 4K, I start to forget that they're characters rendered in an engine. They just look like real characters in a movie. I think that's the level of immersion that we want, and it allows people, I think, to really suspend their disbelief and go along for the ride.
Enzo is beautifully rendered in the game, and I think he's one of the most compelling game characters we've seen for a long time.
The thing I'm most excited about from Mafia the Old Country is finally getting the game in players' hands.
The story pulls you through really quickly, and at the end, it takes your breath away, and it's one that you're not going to want to spoil for your friends.
The visuals and the storytelling are absolutely next level.
Our setting's completely distinctive, our story's completely unique. This is a game that you haven't played before. The best crime stories have unforgettable twists, and this game's no exception. Players are in for a treat.
welcome, Enzo.